Hi everyone, my name is Vivek Singh. I am working with AWS for the last 8 years as Principal Database Specialist. I work with Enterprise Support team and I help enterprise customers for migration and solving their PostgreSQL issues. I also write blogs and articles and YouTube videos, mostly on RDS and Aurora PostgreSQL. And thanks for coming here. I know it's quite hot outside and it's very tough to get some time after office times. So hopefully we will learn here something and we will exchange our PostgreSQL learnings. With that, feel free to ask any question while I'm talking. That's one of the motive of this meetup, that let's exchange the PostgreSQL learnings in the meanwhile. Agenda, what we are going to talk today is new features of PostgreSQL 15 and 16. These are some of the list of PostgreSQL 15 features, but what I picked from release notes and some other sources. And if you want to get the whole list of the new features, I would suggest to go to the release notes. You can just search for PostgreSQL 15 release notes or PostgreSQL and major version number and release notes. That's how you will know that your applications are compatible with the new version or not. I know that some of the managed services like RDS or Aurora, you can jump off some of the major versions. For example, you can go from 11 to 15. So you need to go one by one, all of the release notes, and making sure that your data types, your applications are compatible with all of these versions. In this section of PostgreSQL 15, we are going to learn about improved in-memory sort operation. In PostgreSQL, as you might be knowing, sorting and hashing up happens, and the work mem is the parameter which will hold the data in the memory, and everything else comes on your disk. So it's very important to take care of that parameter. Most of the customers, what I talked about, they still use 4 MB, so something we will talk about. And there's a new merge command that was long awaited for PostgreSQL. All other database engines, MS SQL Server, Oracle, they already support merge command. I will talk with the demo that why it is important, how it is different from upsert command, what was already there in PostgreSQL. Upsert is nothing but update plus insert command. And then we will talk about some of the improved compression performance. There are some new compression options in PostgreSQL 15. We will discuss about that. And there is one security feature added on the views that is called security invoker. You can turn off and on. And then one of my favorite topic is for logical replication. There are so many improvements done in PostgreSQL 15 that have solved many problems. With that, let me ask one question here. I will start that what are the upgrade options, but let me ask a quick question here. Why should we even think about major version upgrade? What are the core reasons that a company or a user should think about major version upgrade? Any idea? Sure.
Well, lots.
Yeah.
Lots in performance of restore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Like for this year in November, I believe PostgreSQL 11 has end of life. So PostgreSQL has the major versions, and after that they release after a few months they release the minor versions. So once they declare the end of life of the major version, that means after that they will not publish any minor version or any security updates. So your database basically on the risk of security. So it's very important to search PostgreSQL end of life, find that what is the end of life for your database. For an example, if somebody is using PostgreSQL 11, it's best time to test your applications with the higher version and find that which version is best for you. Maybe 12, maybe 13, maybe there are new features in 15. Or after that, you can look for 16 also. Quick question here. Why, and this is my own thinking, that what is common in iPhone and PostgreSQL?
MySQL.
What I found that for few months, iPhone has the same version of PostgreSQL. iPhone 15 and PostgreSQL 15. That is the combination of what I found. So anyway, so these are the upgrade options. PG upgrade, that is the most commonly used utility to upgrade your database in the open source PostgreSQL. Make sure that whatever method you use, make sure to run analyze. Most of the customers, they came to me that after upgrade, database is not performing well. and SQL queries are slow. Looks like there is some problem with RDS or Aurora PostgreSQL.
Has
Excuse me.
PG upgrade fixed the problem with OIDs? That's why we don't use it.
Which ID?
Enumerated type, yeah, the OID, PG upgrade can't handle
That's good.
OIDs, which is used by the text search.
So hopefully community might be working on this. I mean, if you
Have they fixed that, or they're still?
something to report them actually.
Pardon?
Something to report them. Unless we report them, what is the problem? They might not be knowing. So,
I can't understand.
so I was saying that I'm not sure if the community has worked on this or not.
Okay.
If
It
we
breaks
can
the
report
text
them
message,
and
yeah.
then we can follow the message thread, then we can find it out if they are. Or anybody else know about this issue? That would be great.
It breaks the text
Text,
vectors
really?
and another
That's
text
cool.
vectors.
And my own favorite was PG dump restore when I was DBA for a smaller database set like 200 gig, 100 gig, just do the dump and restore on the higher version, good to go. Instead of earlier on, PG upgrade also had some more issues. It was breaking a lot. Earlier on means like around 5-6 years before. Now it's still better. And if you are worried about the outage, most of the users, they came to me that I want zero downtime upgrade, which is not possible as far as I know. There would be a downtime, maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, you can reduce the downtime using some of the methods. Logical replication is the most common way to migrate your Postgres from lower version to the higher version. Thanks to the community that they launched logical replication from, I believe, 9.4. Before that, you had to use some external tools like Slowly, Pocardo to migrate from the lower version to the higher version. If you use RDS or Azure, I know that in RDS there is something called DMS, Data Migration Services. You can migrate the base data and then you can apply change data capture. That's how you will set up the replication. When the data is in sync, just cut over and make the new primary as the production instance. You need to update the endpoint URL. That's it. And the last option of the upgrade is that, like I said, that the managed database provider, say RDS or Microsoft Azure, they have single button upgrade. That means if you click the upgrade, first step is that it will take the backup snapshot to make sure that you have the pre-upgrade backup. And then it will run the PG upgrade. We need to make sure that when we talk about a downtime, the downtime majorly depends on the number of the relations. For an example, if you have one table of 1 terabyte compared to you have 100 tables of 10 megabyte, the 100 table will take longer time somehow. So the best way to find that how much downtime would happen, do it in the testing environment and find it out that for your data set, how much downtime would be there. And that's how you can target the downtime in your production environment.
Excuse me.
Any question, please?
How do you test that when your data, we have a situation as financial services, so you can't take real production data into a lower environment?
That's a good question. I mean, that is your personal problem. I mean, generally speaking, people take a snapshot in RDS or backup, but that's a good question. If you cannot take it, the backup in
So
some any other
you said you cannot take, sorry, the data from production to lower
You
environments?
can't use any production data.
Well, what we do, normally what we do in big companies is you take that data and you scrub it.
Yes, mask it, yeah.
Yes, and then you move it into lower environments, and you call it they call it the golden copy. And you do that on a frequency to where you can go and grab the golden copy in lower environments for performance testing primarily.
Right.
Yeah.
You can tag it.
And that data is obfuscated.
You can use PG crypto or any kind of masking extension. You can mask some of the crypto data so
Just
that.
call it data in flight and shoot.
Logging in production,
Right,
just
we
go
just
there.
fly.
Yeah.
I have my
It's data in
Joe,
flight.
I have my Joe Dirt solution. I use the generate function and Python faker and just make data that looks like the real thing in terms of size, data types, everything matches. But I was just curious if there was a more eloquent.
For performance,
Yeah.
you really gotta have the production data in there.
Yeah.
But of course,
No, for performance, because there's no limit on what you can do with the generate. And if you
Yes.
hook it up to a faker function, it'll do it all day. And it's when I'm working with a client and their DBA teams, or sorry if there are any Oracle DBAs in here, if they're can't spell dumbass without the D.
We had a few, but we kicked them out.
But they don't like to play ball, so
Yeah.
I just had to come up with a way. I was just searching if there was a more eloquent or best practice around that,
Yeah,
but
that's-
scrubbing the data, what Taha said makes sense.
You can use PG bench kind of the utility where you can create dummy data, because like I said that the outage depends on the size of the
Right.
database as well as number of the relations. Somehow if you can create dummy data size and database size and number of relations, you might get the, but it's important for you because sometimes in the higher major version data types also change. In fact, if you have some functions, triggers which are depending on the system catalogs, it will also break your upgrade. So one method what I tell to my customers that take the schema only dump and restore it on the higher version. If you have any incompatibility, it will coming out. Like PG state activity, they change some of the data type from older to the higher version. If you have some view depending on this system catalog, that will break once you upgrade it.
Does this data fuzzer read the schema and understand the constraints? 'Cause I've never seen one that does.
What I do, I do my own analysis of those
So you
details.
write your own fuzzer. I've never seen a fuzzer that knows how to read SQL constraints.
No, this is, I have to incorporate
I would
that
pay
too.
money for that, but I've never seen it.
Python is like I said, that's the Joe Dirt. This isn't something that I would go to market with, it just gets the job done, right? So, I'll look at the information schema, update the stats, then go look at the information schema for what objects actually exist and script it out to build it. But it's a Joe Dirt approach.
Is it what approach?
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
That's right.
Yeah, it's poor man's version. It's nothing, like I said, people are like, can you give me those scripts? I'm like, this isn't anything I want publicly known that I'm doing. I'm just getting the job
But if you
done.
read the constraints, like there's no negative numbers, in core, so, you got a constraint that says it's always greater than 0. I've never seen a fuzzer that can do that. And I pay money for that, even Rosen was like,
So, I
you
was
have to be able to read
wondering-
the constraints and the whole schema and see the foreign key and all that. And then you got something that probably would measure benchmark.
How do you test applications then? I mean, if you modify some applications and if you want to test it on the production database, how do you do it if you don't have testing environment?
So they call it a PTE,
Mhm.
performance testing environment.
Mhm.
But they use, they have seed data, and it's not a one-for-one match to production. That's the concern. And they think they're doing a one-to-one match, and I'm like, everyone thinks that until they get hit in the face, right? Like, you have to have, so what I do is, like you said, move it off to a sandbox, get everything to
Clean
match
up.
production, and do the work there.
Gotcha.
Get it to working, and then dump the code out, put that in the repo, and go.
Process takes like 8 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Very common problem.
Yeah.
Right, your production environment is 100 terabytes.
Yeah.
It's not cost effective to maintain a low environment 100 terabytes. So what do you do?
What happens when you make money? You gotta keep it somewhere.
So let's come back to the agenda. I'm going to start with the in-memory sort performance. As you might be aware, for example, if you do order by, it will sort the data, and initial data goes to the work memory that is defined by 4 MB, and everything else will come to your local disk. So first of all, regardless of all these things, it's very important to find the good work memory number for you. For that, you need to run the explain command on your top 10 SQL queries, or else you can enable auto explain plan logging. There you can find that what would be the best work mem value for you. Or else you can just go blindly and put it like 8 MB or 16 MB and see that your performance is improved or not, but keep your eyes on the variable memory on your database or on your instance, making sure that you have enough memory for other things. So before PostgreSQL 15, entire tuple was used for the sorting operation. Now what they do that, and all this coming from their committers PostgreSQL logs. So there is something called datum. I don't know exactly what it does, but when I search online, datum is the single piece of information. In fact, you can say the similar form of data. So in 15, they use datum, and that basically increases the performance of the sorting performance. And Specialized sort for common data type. You can learn from that what are the common data type from the release notes, or just to go to the source code of PostgreSQL, they might have mentioned there. But I tried to search that what are the common data types. It is not yet mentioned anywhere, but I believe the best way is to go to the release notes and source code. So I have demo here, and the demo I will show you that how the sorting performance is around 40% better in the PostgreSQL 15 compared to 14. So let me show you that what I'm trying to do here. This is my PostgreSQL 14. It's showing that the version is 14, and I'm going to do something here. Let's see. Create table. I'm generating a sample table here. It will take some time. Let me fast forward here.
Did you alias your P-SQL to PG14?
Yeah, I did. Exactly.
Was that you, or is that was you?
It's me. I created because the thing is that in my case there are many customers using 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I created all the instances and aliases that.
Or that?
But I wanted to make sure that select version to make sure that
Now you know.
I'm not lying.
I got you. All right.
So yeah, create table. So I'm selecting ID from T1 order by 1. That means the sorting will happen here. And I'll show you quickly that what is the timing for this one. So as you can see, the timing is 6,114 milliseconds.
Analyze the table first. This one.
For ordering, need to.
No, when you
watch
created
it.
the table, I said.
It's a brute force scan, regardless.
Mm.
Unless there's even with an index, brute force scan. There's no.
Yeah. So, and if I do with for 15, the same steps. So I connected to 15, as you can see, 15.2. I do the same steps, and if you run the timing and explain, yeah, analyze will run the whole command, I believe. Yeah, I just ran it analyze. Analyze was not needed, I believe. Yeah, analyze to run the command. So as you can see that it took around 6,000. That means
What was the previous time?
6,000.
6 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
So 40%.
40%. That's what they say in the Postgres development proposal. But once again, it's a very basic test. That doesn't mean that you are going to save 40%. You are going to increase 40%.
Just run all your queries like
It's
that.
memory bound. It's not storage bound.
Yeah. So, and also this is a simple table, but you talk about a complex table, complex SQL queries, the performance could be different. So that's why demo has not much meaning when you compare with your actual workloads. But yeah, just to show that what Postgres development user group say, so I added this table here.
So you're saying if I do select column from big tuple, sorted by column,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be reading all of the tuple. Whereas now it's gonna take the projection and then do the sort. So like if I do select small integer from big tuple, well, at first it'll apply a integer sorting on just the datum of the projection.
It's going to read the data regardless. Postgres reads data blocks, AK blocks. So you're pulling a block.
Right, well, that's what I was
The
trying to.
difference is in the sorting process, it only has to store the data point rather than store the entire tuple is what it used to. So you have less memory and it's faster.
Right, so when it's doing the copy, I guess.
So it's sort of behaving like a column view.
But wouldn't with a full tuple, you not do the copy, you've gotta read it anyway. You read the tuple in, now you gotta copy the individual column out.
Correct. It's what it holds transient while it's sorting. When you're sorting, you're reading the same data point multiple times. You're swapping points multiple times. You don't have
Oh,
to-
that's right, yeah, I see what you're saying, right, cause you're gonna be rescanning it multiple times.
Sure.
Yeah, I got it, that's what I was, right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a single pass.
And by the way, if you don't know, tuple in PostgreSQL, that is the row in the outside databases. It's our own lingual thing. Cluster, by the way, cluster might be meaning something else in Aurora or somewhere else, but in PostgreSQL, it's the collection of the databases on the single instance. So we need to familiarize all these things when we start working with Postgres. So with that, new merge command, I'm quite excited, and if you do some research, you'll find it out that that is long-awaited feature for PostgreSQL. It was already there in Oracle and SQL Server for a long time. So what it does that, for example, it references a target table. Assume that a target table is getting the data from multiple sources. So earlier on, you were used to use a upsert with the on conflict clause. That means if it is data is matching, update it. Otherwise, insert it. So it
How's
was
this better? How's this better than that?
performance-wise. I have seen it. It is better. But yeah, there are multiple talks from the different community people. Merge also brings some complexity. Would you like to add something? I didn't get a chance to read it completely, but
I remember the earlier discussions about merge versus upsert, so the upsert, but I'm just curious, I don't know.
so yeah, so I did some benchmarking for my different blog, and I found that when I do the upsert with the two tables, merge was quite faster. I need to deep dive more that why it is faster.
Yeah.
I thought Peter said that merge was not transactional, so you can.
Oh, it is, it is.
I could have sworn he said that. It's not transactional.
Your eyes trapped.
There's, Peter Gang, I could have
Oh,
sworn.
here you go, okay.
One who wrote upsert, technically upsert is transactional.
Everything is transaction. Most-
Pardon?
everything
No, you
is-
can get duplicates in a merge.
Well, if you have key constraints there, still.
Yeah, modulo that, but I'm just saying you can, on conflict, you won't ever get duplicates, so.
Well, with upsert will give you duplicate if you don't have the proper keys.
Yeah,
I'd have to go
constraints.
back and reread what Peter's critique. It wasn't a critique, it was just, his point was it's kind of better for bulk stuff, where you kind of know ahead what you got, but.
So what it does that when you run merge command, you have the options to run insert, update, or delete. Mostly what I have seen that people do with insert and update. Delete is a condition if you find that the data is matching on some column or clause, you will delete the data from the.
Right, and if you had an error, see, the thing that we use a lot of the upsert stuff, is that we don't get an error.
On
I
the
think
conflict
Peter was pointing out,
thing, right?
You'll get an error if you have a key that restricts the duplicates, you will get an error. And that's confusing when you're doing.
So you are saying that in the merge, you won't get the error?
No, it's the other way around. On the on conflicts, you don't get an error, right? You just ignore it.
Ignore it,
So
right.
that means, but on the, I'm quoting something that I think was several years ago, so I'm not quite sure whether MERGE does this, but
Yeah.
my understanding is that would be an error if you had a unique index.
Gotcha, yeah.
Conflicted on the merge, you just get an error, which is what you'd expect when you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
But technically, there's no way to back that out or no way to
Yeah,
handle it,
so-
like there is on upsert.
So your transaction will roll backwards. like-
Yeah, we only care, we're only recording facts, so they're two different things to get the same facts, so we just ignore it, do nothing.
Yeah.
Cause they're both gonna get the same answers, it doesn't make a difference, but my understanding of his explanation was that on a merge, if you don't have the index, you just get duplicates. If you do,
Yes.
then you will get an error. There's no way to say do nothing.
Yes.
Which is confusing
Which is
when
the
you're writing
possibility
code
on
that
the,
has-
on
In
on
merge, there is
conflict
a
do
do
nothing.
nothing clause. In merge, there is a do nothing clause.
Okay, see, everything I'm saying is a couple years
So
old.
in the merge, there is option of not,
There was some
do
issue
nothing,
with
yeah.
that.
Okay.
My understanding
Maybe I
was some
didn't-
issue with that, like you get an error or duplicates or something.
I used to do a lot of cash register processing for
Right.
food
So
courts,
maybe
so it's
there
one of
is
those things where, if you got the same record twice, do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's in the merge. Okay, so that, what I'm telling you is a couple years old. I've kind of kept up with it. We haven't had any need for it yet, so.
I'm glad they finally got it, but I had to learn it the other way. Coming from Oracle,
Yeah.
I had to learn the merge.
Yeah.
And then unlearn that in order to do the
Upsert.
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 Well, there is no command called upsert, right? It's just the combination of
Well,
update or
on,
Yeah, it's just-
on
yeah.
conflict, but, generally it's
Yeah.
referred to as an upsert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So some of the use cases are that, for example, if you have a target data and you're getting the data
Just
from.
on that note, just
Yeah,
to say
please.
that, what we used to do is, if I am applying like a merge, but the old fashioned way in Postgres, you know what, CTE, common table expression. So what I would do is if my data is mainly update, I'll issue an update first,
Yes.
and then I'll do the insert later.
Yeah.
And if it is the other way around, if you're starting fresh, then you do the insert first, and then you do the update later to catch. So that was, and you can tune it later. But with merge, I'm sure they have optimized the heck out of it.
So it's a single context, right? You don't have to do.
Peter Gaines got a good write-up.
Yeah, you don't.
The data modify with was the first
Is
one.
it go with the unit of work, the merge, like if something wrong, it roll back?
If it's a transaction, yeah, it should roll back. If it should get some error, definitely.
100%.
It usually merge, when it finishes, pretty much it's resolved.
What is it on this gentleman? here?
Updates and
On the,
inserts.
if it, on the whatever the equivalent is on conflict, does it roll back the transaction or just silently?
It either fails, fails or
You
finishes.
can set it however you want, it's one of those things where.
Okay, so I mentioned that article in 2 talks ago, I don't know
Mhm.
what Peter talked about that, whenever I did that one on the PG-15. I haven't kept up with it because we haven't had any meetings for it, but we don't do a lot of bulk updates, we do a lot of small types of things, like load balancing, we've got 2 things, indexing the same thing, but.
Some of the use cases, what I found that if you have a target table and it is consuming the data from multiple IoT devices, you can merge the data. Or if you have data incoming through the FDW foreign data wrapper, merge command also works with FDW. You can use a target table and then data coming from the multiple sources. If you have periodic or intermittent data, for example, if you have weather data coming from various places and if you want to save on a one master table, you can use the merge. Quick demo about that, how to use the merge here. I'm using PostgreSQL 15 here and select version, that's fine. Show me the actual. Okay, so I created a table called station main. And I added 2 columns, create date and update date. And I'm inserting some data. These are the 5 data I'm inserting, and then I see that there are station ID, data, that is data 11, and create time, date time. Now I'm creating a different table that I use to merge the data from this table to the main table. And I insert here 5 same values, and I will update 1 value and insert 1 value. So this is same data as per the main table. And then I will insert 1 more data, that is row number 6. And I will update a data that is row number 1, I believe. So now I'm going to upsort the data, so you will see that the new data has been added, and then where the ID is matching 1, that is, okay, so now I'm going to merge the data. So this is the syntax of merge into station main, and I put the alias using the column which I want to do, and as you can see here now, there's new data added, and then the data has been modified for ID 1. That's how the merge, and from create date and update date, that is helpful because you will know that the data was updated or not. You can have some function triggers, and you can also put the last action. It was delete value or it was insert value.
Do you have to supply update?
I'm sorry?
Do you have to supply the update statement or not?
Yes, when matched, then update.
Yeah.
You
It's
can also
required.
do when matched, then delete.
Mhm.
And then, like somebody said that there's an option that do nothing also. So when matched, do nothing, otherwise only insert maybe, right?
Can you do delete on the not matched?
When not matched, yeah, you can try any combination. When not matched means there is no matching, and depends on your use case, what you want to do. It will use the insert, delete, or update, whatever you wanna play with. Make sense?
So what makes it run quicker?
Something to dive deep and run the escape plan, and then we can see that where it is consuming high resources. If we do the upsert compared to merge, I will go with the escape plan and see where does it take.
I think the answer to that, and again, I don't know the details, but it's probably the implementation of the merge. It's implemented in the core, in the C, whereas the other one, you're just implementing it on update and insert.
No,
Just
that-
under,
that
the
doesn't
first
do
one,
same
upsert,
thing.
is an abstraction of update and insert.
No, I don't think it is, but.
Could be a tactical thing also, just to match with the other databases.
We probably had to do a talk on that write-up Peter did, but, he went into great detail about it, I don't know how out of date it is, but, the takeaway I got from his write-up was that if you're doing bulk, where you kinda know about how the data's structured, then
Yeah.
merge is probably better, but if you're doing transactional, you need to know exact.
And once again, performance might be varying depending on your use case, depending on your data size. So I would suggest that being DB, always run the escape plan and see that which option is better for you. That doesn't mean that merge is going to be helpful always with you. So that's why it's important to know the multiple options and go with whatever is best for you.
I think the action is happening within the database engine itself, like stored procedures, internal stored procedures.
It's a merge is a function, definitely.
Right.
It's
there are some improved compression performance on PostgreSQL 15. There are some benefits on space and performance, specifically if you are using replication and you are saving the WAL files on your host. The support of LZ4 and GSTD has been added to PostgreSQL 15, and I believe PGLZ is still the default compression, but you need to opt one of these. As you can see that I modified this one to WAL compression, and it is showing me ZSTD. In the same way, PG base backup has now the option of LZ4 and GSTD. So now we have the three options: gzip, LZ4, and GSTD. All these added options will improve your performance and lower your storage use because your WAL file would be compressed.
We did, it's in Toast, but it was added in Toast, I think, a release ago.
Yeah, it was added in Toast, yeah.
Yeah,
But
we
now,
did some superficial stuff and didn't see any benefits.
Hold on.
Really?
Z standard is, LZ4 is like 5 times faster than base compression is.
LZ4?
It's tremendously faster.
Yeah, I think I don't think it was added, I think only one was added when we were testing it.
in the PG Toast, right? In the previous
We
version.
didn't see anything particularly faster on the toasting. We were toasting vectors.
Yeah, so I would suggest, you know what, like if I were you, I would definitely report with the open source community and share the use case. That
Well, there's a limit to how much time I expend. I just did a simple thing, dumped a table.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's what I will do.
Didn't see that much.
That is the
We
best
did see
place.
an improvement, but it wasn't that much.
Yeah, exactly. That is the best place where I get the answers of all these things because nobody is perfect, but all these people who are building.
Oh, I wish I had that much time.
Yeah, I use open source community a lot. I always send them the question, and within an hour, I will get a reply from across the globe somewhere.
I think, where was the first one was in Toast? I think it was the Z one. There was only one.
Postgres has its own compression. which is
Right, and then
terrible.
they had a new one. and
PG
then I
LT,
think it was
right?
the
That's
Z
the
one.
one.
This was
Oh, well,
probably 3 years ago.
yeah, well, there's that, but PG dump is what you would notice. Like, you use PG dump, it's gonna be terrible. Postgres has its own compression.
Yeah.
This was in Toasting.
Even Toasted is the same, it was used everywhere. They didn't use the modern stuff because they were concerned about patents. So it took a long time before Tom would relax and let our stuff in. But it isn't, I did tremendous difference.
Wonder why we didn't see it.
And there is an option on the view, you can use the option security invoker. What it does basically, it adds an additional layer of protection onto views. This new option ensures that view callers, there are two things, the person who calls the view and someone who owns the underlying data. So we need to understand this thing. Ensures that view callers have the correct permissions for working with the underlying data. Underlying data means the underlying table. And creates view the query using the permissions of caller instead of the person who created the view. So we will understand this thing by demo, and by default security invoker is off, but you need to pass this option when you create the view, and I'll show you that how to use this one. Once again, I'm using 15, and I will create some tables like here. Current user. Okay, so current user is PZ1 user. That's the person who's creating the table. Okay, so you can see that security invoker is off as of now, and I will create a table. Looks like here. Create user 1. Okay. I created a table with 1000 rows here, and I created a view. I means being PZ1 user. And then I will switch.
Could you hold 1 second, please?
Sure.
That select that you did, security invoker, setting, you are selecting a constant.
Yeah. Create view v1 with security.
No, the second select statement.
Second select statement.
Select security invoker equal off.
Yeah.
That's it.
setting 1.
That is, you're selecting. the
Yeah,
constant.
yeah. So forget about that one actually. By default, it is maybe I tried to show, but yeah, there's no point. I should have select this from setting and then it will show. Correct. That's a nice catch. But yeah, in this view, as you can see that I am taking the option. Oh yeah. So yeah, now I understand. I put it there because I wanted to show that this is the use case number 1 where security invoker is off, and I will do again when I will show security invoker on. So in this case, it is off. That's okay. Let's see here. Okay, so that's how I showed that this is off, and I'm still as, okay, so now I select on view 1 to user 1, the user what I created. And as you can see, and set role, okay, so this is important here that I change my role to user 1 now, and I can see the data from view 1. In the other case, when I will show you, this is my current role PG user 1 back to the, and this is the use case where security invoker is on. So I will create a new user called user 2, and I will create some table and view with on. And I will change my role to user 2, and as you can see, the user can see from the view, oh no sorry, cannot see from the view. And that's it. So that is the use of security invoker. If you wanna in place some more security, you can use this option, security invoker, and turn it on in PostgreSQL 15. Logical replication, that's a bundle of options and features has been added in the logical replication. Few of them is that now we can do the long-awaited row and column level filters. What it will give you, it will help selectivity of the replicating data and performance gains. For an example, assume that I have a customer and they are posting the data in US and they want to replicate some data in, say that Mexico, but they don't want to replicate all the data because they have some selective data that has to be on the US soil. So you can select columns, you can select rows to replicate. Definitely, this will also give you a benefit that your target table could be smaller size because you are not replicating the all data. Good, it's good for the geofencing of data. That's what I said, that if you want to save some data on particular country and as per the compliances, if you don't want to replicate all data, you can select the data to replicate. Implementation for multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy is something like if I am posting the data from multiple customers and if I create multiple databases for them, I might have 100 or 200 databases, but I don't want to replicate all the data. So this column and row level filter helps you to make sure that what data you want to replicate on the other side. Same way, strapping of personal identification information. If you work in fintech or if you work in a sensitive environment where you don't want to replicate all data and you want to trim or not sending some column like SSN number or emails, you can filter those data while replication. So this is the demo where I will show you that yeah, go ahead, please.
I think one thing is you can replicate from multiple databases into a single one. That's something worth noting.
Yes.
And the tables structures don't have to match. So what we did for customers, we enriched the data that was coming from the source by putting triggers and allowing different attributes to be added to the data that doesn't exist in the source.
Oh, there, okay, yeah.
So it's like having an ETL job without having an ETL job.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think is worth noting.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
With logical replication, you can do a lot of magic.
We've
So-
got a contingency plan on a messaging system.
People
Use
might be
logical
green already, but
replication,
that could be a
message
workaround. But now they give us the feature, what we can use from
We're
logical.
just
Talking
beginning
about
to-
orchestration, you missed a couple of months ago, a talk by Merlin, where he had orchestration of hundreds and hundreds of data sources and jobs, all from Postgres.
Yeah.
Using the logical replication. I wanted to see that talk, but I got.
I'll show it to you. Have it ready right now.
There's a lot, you can add
Next time,
services, you can add new services and all sorts of cool stuff. I mean,
If not
it's
next
good.
month, maybe a couple of months.
It's all right, well, yeah.
Sure, so in this case, on my left side, it's PostgreSQL 14, as you can see, the version. And you can also learn that how to set up the logical replication. First of all, I'm using my EC2 instances on RDS, so you need to have security with Exchange so that there is a path to connectivity through through these two EC2 instances. You can also host two PostgreSQL on the same instance and set up the logical replication. In this case, I am using two different EC2 instances and using the open source Postgres.
So if I request a message and stick it in the in-flight table and then catch it on the logical replication to go out to the whatever network, that you don't need a polling model, which is what one of my clients currently does, which works, but just put it in, say, in-flight, right? Logical replication catches it, pushes it out on the RF network, wherever. While later, you know, it gets delivered, comes back. You can do that through logical replication. You could add services to the database without interfering with the, you know, the forward-facing
Yeah.
side.
So
It's
you
amazing
have
what
a
I
table
can do.
here,
Yeah.
and table, same table there?
Right. So I'll tell you here. So on this line, as you can see that create publication pub1 for table customer where ID is equal to 1. So here I am filtering the data for ID is equal to 1. And yeah, I created a subscription. I put it the connection string here, and it will create the subscription slot for this data. And as you can see here, you see all the data here for John and Jeff 1 and 2 value. And let's see that what happens on the replication. As you can see that you are seeing only John data, that is ID 1, because I am filtering the data on ID is equal to 1. So this is quite a powerful.
And if you update ID1 to make it Jack, John.
It will now, yeah, so whatever you do with that ID, it will appear here. If you delete it, it could delete. But if you do anything with the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, that will not come here. So assume that if you are using a single table for multiple customers, you can filter out the data for particular customer, cust ID, whatever you can use, and that's how.
Which
Like a queue
decoder was
replication.
used?
Sorry.
It's like a queue replication, IBM product,
Yes, could be. I'm not sure, but could be.
or CDC.
Yeah. And one example that some people use the logical replication. I know that in Aurora and RDS for DR point of view, that they would have the primary in AWS and they would have the disaster recovery. Some say that Microsoft Azure, Google. In the case if AWS has the outage, they have different one. By the way, if that is a unique scenario. If something happens in one region, that could also impact the other programs. But yeah, please go ahead.
The decoder, does it only, I've only used, when I'm using Postgres to Postgres, the PG out decoder. Can you change it to use PG to JSON?
Something to check it, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm
If
not
anybody else?
following.
So with Debezium, when I was using that, you can use a different decoder. You can change the decoder to, you can use PG out or PG to
Isn't it just a
JSON.
C line?
You have to make the change inside of Postgres. I was asking if you can change it when you're just doing Postgres to Postgres.
I thought it was just a C function to call. Is that right, Vernon? Just a C function?
Well, yeah, no, it hooks into the decoder and it translates it.
Right, but you could write your own, you could write your own, right?
Yeah, you can, but if you're crazy.
Technically, you could say, we can make the same argument about extension, but I mean, technically, you can do it.
Cool. And very quickly, we are going to learn few features of 16. 16 is still in the beta version, I believe, not yet in the production for
No,
this. It's there? Okay, that's cool.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, could be, definitely, but yeah. So 16 is the most recent major version on PostgreSQL. And there are some of the added features on this version. We will learn about the performance improvements, what are the new monitoring features for 16, some of the admin features, and once again, some logical features add-ons. So there's an introduction of parallel education for full and right join. And if you use select distinct query, it will use the incremental sorts that improves the performance. And if you use copy command a lot, what I have learned that in PostgreSQL 16, the bulk insert copy command has 300% improvement. That is as per the PostgreSQL development group. You need to check it out. If you use copy command, you can do the performance benchmarking, and you need to verify.
Is that due to the concurrency? Or what other things they added?
I'm not sure that what is the reasoning behind what's under the hood, why copy command is high, but definitely if we can look at the release notes or look at the committers commands, we can understand that what they are doing.
I take it back, 16 is still beta.
It's still beta, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing is that now Postgres 16 allows the control of the shared buffers usage by vacuum and analyze. Vacuum and analyze, as you might be knowing that in the PostgreSQL, whenever you update or delete the data, it keeps the old version of the data that is known as the dead tuple, and collectively it's known as the load. So now we can add the limit that how much buffer usage it should be used by the vacuum, because what happened earlier that if the vacuum is quite intensive, it can use the good chunk of shared buffers that can impact the overall performance, because shared buffers is used to keep the dirty pages as well as cached data. If it is being used by vacuum a lot, that means there would be less space for the dirty pages as well as the cached data. And then the option is that vacuum buffer underscore usage underscore limit. If you use the command vacuum db, then the option is buffers usage limit. And there are some improved performances by caching for range and list partition lookups. As you know that PostgreSQL supports three kinds of the partition: range, list, and hash partition, I believe. So if you use these two partitions, you should be seeing some performance improvements in 16. Any questions or any add-ons? If you want to add anything on these features, that would be great. Cool, monitoring features. PostgreSQL has added a new system view called pgstat.io that would be helpful to track IO statistics. Definitely a good add-on for the managed databases, say like RDS or Aurora, because in RDS or Aurora you don't get the access to the host. So from database side, if you can select a system view and look at some information of the IOs, that would be great. So pgstat.io, that is the added system catalog in the PostgreSQL 16. And there is something called speculative log information in the PG logs system view. Looks like they have added a new column in the PG logs. And there's a new wait event added, spin delay, to report spin log sleep details. Admin features. So anybody knows what is the importance of pg_hba.configuration file? What it does?
Security.
Yeah, exactly. So host-based access. It is known to have the IPs and who can connect and how can connect, what kind of the password authentication it will use. So what happened that traditionally we were used to write each line for each connection kind of a thing. What they added in PostgreSQL 16 that you can use the include files. Like if you have some separate file, say that for development environment, monitoring environment, personal environment, you can just include that file. So you don't need to edit the master file. For that feature, they had to add some of the new columns in the system view called pghba file rules. That means, and this is also good for managed databases where you cannot connect to the host. You can just select on this view pghba file rules, and then you can find each rules. The new columns added are rule number and file name, so that you can find out that which file was added in my SBA-conf. In the pgdump, and pgdump can control the child tables and partition tables too. Earlier on, there was no option to add the pattern for the child table and partition tables. Now there is a new option called dash table and child, that is a pattern, and earlier it was only table name. That means you can control dumping the child tables and the partition tables. And the same thing, control of the shared buffer usage by vacuum and analyze. You can put the buffer usage limit on vacuum and analyze. Logical replications, there are some parallelism added in the logical replication. When you create a subscription streaming option that now supports the parallel application, allow logical decoding on standbys that enables users to capture a snapshot of the ongoing transaction and store in the WAL files. And earlier on also there was some limitation on the logical application that you had to have the primary key, otherwise you had to use replica identity full. Now they have added a new performance benefit that it can use now B-tree indexes rather than sequentially scanning the table to find the matches. And allow logical replication initial table synchronization to copy rows in the binary format that adds some performance benefits for the initial table synchronization. And it also improves the performance by caching for the range and list partition lookups. That's it from my side.
Thank you very much.